Wait. So he calls a suicide hotline, right? Gets this anonymous chick on the phone. Years later, she dates his identical twin brother, dumps him, and then marries the original guy drunk in Vegas. What is this? Tuesday.
For the love of, can we at least introduce the book before you butcher the entire premise with your usual flair?
Flair? That's not Flair, that's the plot. Sin with Me by Brooke Montgomery. And let me tell you, the only sin here is that I didn't read it sooner. This Walder fella, he gets it.
He gets it. The man is a walking DSM-5 entry with a cowboy hat. We're talking severe depression, self-harm, substance abuse, and the inciting incident is a crisis call. It's hardly a rom-com meet cute.
Exactly. It's real. It's raw. Unlike that pretentious drivel you made us discuss last month. The Labyrinth of Forgotten Whispers, or whatever.
It was called Echoes in the archive, and it explored complex themes of memory and loss, which clearly went straight over your head like a poorly thrown frisbee.
Yeah. Well, this book explores the complex theme of oops, I married my ex-boyfriend's deeply troubled identical twin brother while blackout drunk, which is way more interesting. Let's talk Welder. My man?
Oh, here we go. Your man. The character is depicted cutting himself. He has suicidal ideation. Reviewers praise the awareness, but also note how incredibly heavy it is. It's not something to idolize.
Idolize? No, relate to. Maybe he's tortured. Maybe Vera said she learned a lot about piercings. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's got that bad boy energy women explicably flock to. Like my neighbor Gary after his third divorce. But with better hair and probably fewer restraining orders.
Comparing a character grappling with serious mental illness to Gary and his questionable life choices is pique you. And Delilah, the heroine, what about her?
Delilah. Okay, bit of a wobble there, dating the brother Waylon. Awkward. Thanksgiving must be a nightmare. But she's his safety pin. That's what the book says. It's poetic.
It's codependent. A safety pin. That's an incredible amount of pressure to put on someone. She meets him in arguably the most vulnerable moment of his life, albeit anonymously, then gets entangled with his entire family. It screams savior complex. And frankly, dating brothers back to back? Major red flag. Is she drawn to the drama, or does she just have terrible judgment?
She has taste. She upgraded as Waylon was probably the sensible twin, the one who flosses and remembers birthdays. Boring. Wilder's the fixer-upper, the dangerous project. It's exciting.
It's exhausting and potentially unethical, depending on the specifics of that hotline situation. But fine, let's agree Waylon got the short end of the stick. Probably for the best, honestly. Dodged a bullet shaped like a Vegas wedding chapel.
Okay. So the characters are messy, deliciously messy, but is the book actually good?
That depends entirely on your definition of good and your tolerance for, well, everything we just discussed, plus a kidnapping subplot.
Whoa, kidnapping. Like Liam Neeson kidnapping.
Apparently, one reviewer dryly noted that both sisters in this series get kidnapped in this supposedly idyllic small town. Quote, this feels crazy. A little meta. End quote. Is Sugarland Creek built on an ancient burial ground? What is happening there?
See? Action, romance, mental anguish. Piercing's book has everything. Forget good. This is peak entertainment. I read one review this woman said, I knew Wilder was gonna wreck me. I didn't know I would become so down bad for him. But people are feral for this guy.
Yes, down bad for a fictional character who desperately needs intensive therapy, not a whirlwind romance built on questionable foundations and alcohol. Another reviewer warned, please check CWTW before diving in. That's content warnings and trigger warnings, because it deals with graphic self-harm and suicidal thoughts alongside, and I quote, off-the-charts chemistry and spice that was spicy. Is it responsible to mix those things so intensely?
Is it responsible to eat chili cheese fries? No. Is it amazing? Yes. Love is messy. Sometimes you call a hotline. Sometimes you get drunk married in Vegas. Sometimes you get kidnapped. It's called multitasking.
That's not multitasking. That's a cry for help. And the Vegas wedding, they make a deal to stay married for a month. It's like What Happens in Vegas meets 13 Reasons Why, directed by the Yellowstone showrunner's unhinged cousin.
Exactly, genius. If Wilder Hollis were a sandwich, what would he be?
I refuse to answer that ridiculous question.
Too late to be a ghost, pepper sloppy Joe on Sadu, served in a dark alley, messy, potentially painful. But you know you want it.
That sounds alarming and probably requires a waiver, much like this book.
All right, judgment time. Let's rate this emotional roller coaster.
Fine. Given the ethical quandaries, the triggering content, and the sheer absurdity of the kidnapping plot layered over everything, I give Sin With Me 4 out of 7 therapy sessions Wilder desperately needed, but didn't seem to get on page.
Weak, so weak. I give it 11 out of 10 questionable life choices I fully endorse. It's a masterpiece of beautiful disasters.
It's a book that exists.
All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today's descent into literary madness. Next week, we're tackling the sentient Stapler that craved vengeance.
That's not a real book.
Isn't it? You've been listening to Heartbook Radio. Don't touch that dial, unless it's to turn us up louder.